The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
2 after 6, 6:02 Thursday morning, 30th of June, 2011. On the air everywhere, Radio Free Denver, good old 630 KHOW, 94 the high, 89 on Friday. And coming up at 7 o'clock, a really fabulous book, Clarence Darrow, attorney for the damn John Farrell. In the meantime, boy, I tell you what, tougher as they come. Dr. Jerry Corsi joins us along with, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, Mara Zebest. Did I do that correct? Zebest?
You did beautifully. Thanks, Peter.
All right, first of all, good morning to you, and Dr. Corsi, as always, good morning to you.
Good morning, Peter.
I would like you, if you would, to interview our guest, Dr. Corsi, because this stuff is way out of my league. But I read everybody's piece, and if we would start with Ms. Zebest telling us her background, and how she comes to the conclusions. But, Amar, if you would begin speaking, then I'll turn it over to Dr. Corsi.
Okay. Just give a quick little bio on myself.
Please.
Is that what you're asking?
Please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm a computer I have a lot of expertise in computer programs, especially Adobe programs and some Microsoft Office programs. I've been a contributing author for a number of books, as well as technical editor for probably over 100 books. A dozen of those are for Adobe products, most of which have been Microsoft products as well. I just have always had an interest in graphic arts. I started with Photoshop for that reason, and it's just blossomed from there. As far as coming to look at the birth certificate, I have a lot of friends that know that I know graphics. I know the graphic programs. And whenever they have questions like, is this real? What do you think? They know that I can usually detect whenever something doesn't look real or when it does, because I know what people do to edit documents. At the day that Obama released his birth certificate, a friend of mine called me, and same sort of thing. She just said, you've got to look at this. I know if anybody can tell if it's real or not, it would be you. And so I downloaded the copy, and within seconds of opening it up in Illustrator, it was such an obvious fake. I was just blown away at how clumsy the person had been in making this document, and I've been on a quest to let people know ever since.
And Dr. Corsi, I read the piece that you did, and you call her the Adobe book editor.
Right.
Obama's certificate is phony. You're so far ahead of me, obviously, on this. When we go back to the 27th of April, and out of the, as they used to say, out of the clear blue of the western sky,
right.
Without any fanfare, after watching, brave men go to prison, millions of dollars spent, everything like this thing drops. And it drops as your book is coming, as Donald Trump is really, starting to heat up, and as well as I think there's 12 states at that point that were at least discussing whether or not eligibility issues should be on their constitution, state constitution, or by their legislators. And then out of nowhere, in a very abrupt moment, the president drops this, and it's supposed to be end of story, drive on.
Right. And, Peter, one of the points I want to make is that people would say, the book was badly timed. I think the book was perfectly timed. It forced the release of this document that the White House had been hiding for 3.5 years. And my question is, if this document had existed for 3.5 years, why wasn't it shown earlier? I was told it was faked in February and was going to be made available for the White House to release in April if they wanted to. Now, what Mara has done is used her Adobe expertise for being able to look at the document and see that it's an obvious fake. And I'm trying to make 2 or 3 points here that Mara can explain non-technically so that anybody opening up this document, even in Adobe Acrobat, not even Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, the more expensive and more elaborate programs, but the simpler program, can see the characteristics that make it clear this document's a forgery. Now, Mara, to begin with, why don't you talk about the birth certificate number, the 10641, and how the numbers, some of them look dark and jagged, and then the last one has a very different, lighter characteristic, and what that tells you.
Okay. And again, I'll try not to be too technical and stuff, but basically, whenever if this document had been scanned in, as the White House claims. Any document scanned in should have a consistency in how all the text looks. It should have this number specifically. There's lots of places where the document does this, but in this number you can see that all the numbers have a very black color and a very bit-mapped edge, in other words, a very jagged edge. And then you come to the last number, and the last number has what I refer to as noise that usually happens when you scan something in. So that number could have come from a scanned document.
Yeah, if I may, because we have a link from our website, khow.com, over to your work, but because I've seen this and I'm just listening to you, unless people are following along, unless they have a level of expertise, which I don't have, you're losing them. So speak in a way that somebody like me can understand it, because I like I said, you use words like Bitman text and stuff like that, and I'm going to have no idea what that is. So, if you would.
If everybody's familiar with pixels, I mean, the first several letters have a very jagged pixel edge where you can see where one pixel begins and another one ends, whereas the last letter has what's called anti-aliasing. I know it's a word you might not be familiar with, but anti-aliasing means that there's a pixel transition between the two colors, the black and the white, so that the edge looks smoother. And that indicates that number came from a different source than the other numbers. It's been pieced together.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Jerry, because I want to back up. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, just jump in. It'd be like if you were watching, a string of little ducklings following a mother duck, and then in the string was a dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dog stands out to an expert and says, wait a minute, this dog is not the product of these ducks. Okay, and that's what Amar is saying, is that the numbers there, the birth certificate number, just even starting out with what's at the top right-hand corner of the document, most of the numbers look like the little ducks in a row. They all look
guys,
the same.
I tell people, khow.com, and Sheik's got this stuff up, and I like what you call noise. And Mar, that's you say it's inconsistent. In other words, you can see these 064, and then the one doesn't fit.
Right.
It's like Jerry said, it's a dog in a duck line. Yeah.
And the noise is, when I would say noise, I'm talking about the fact that the color of that number isn't a solid black. If you zoom in real close, you can see that there's variations of black tones, like a lighter black, a dark black, a medium black. You know what I'm saying? So each pixel that makes it up, you can see that, whereas the other ones has solid pixel colors of a solid black.
See it. I mean, when I had this demonstration done here, when the guy came in and he started to unlayer it, and then the K in Kansas, and then you pointed out the noise in that K, and then it's ANSAS. They're separate. They're almost like it's two words, but it's Kansas. Yeah, it's
what
bizarre.
What this means, Peter, is cutting and pasting.
Yeah.
In other words, the dog in that duck line was dropped into the duck line. It didn't naturally occur there. So somebody cut and pasted the document.
And I don't know if this is important, but I also think that the fact that some of those letters that have such the jagged edge, I think that's because they were taken from items that they got off the Internet, possibly, that are low-resolution images that they tried to enhance to make them look like they were higher-resolution images.
How many people, or how long would it take you, maybe that's a better way, if you had a couple like the Nordyke twins and a couple other examples that are floating around, so-called Hawaii birth certificates, how long would an expert like you, would it take you to build this birth certificate?
It depends. I mean, if it depends on the material you're working with. If I had high-quality images that I'm using to build a certificate like that, I could do a job that you wouldn't be able to detect. But if I'm working from low-resolution images, I don't think there's any way you can build one that you couldn't detect. If you're dealing with pixel-based images from the Internet and they're low-resolution, you can't create something that's going to look high-resolution and legitimate.
What's interesting to me, and Dr. Corsi is the best, but, we now have this governor, Neil Abercrombie, who's been made to look like a fool. what role would he play in something like this, particularly after the Obamas go to Hawaii, and I think there was a sit-down, and Abercrombie changes literally every story he had been telling for years. And could he have given these people the materials and able to take it with either a Microsoft or an Adobe and build one of these? In other words, because it's like Jerry said and I said, this man fought this for years in courtrooms, spending millions of dollars, let a brave man go to jail, everything else that happened, and suddenly drops this, and it's on a PDF file. It's not the paper itself. In other words, and that's bizarre, isn't it, Jerry?
Well, Peter, I've come to the conclusion that first of all, if you're in the White House and you want to forge a document, you can't put out a request for proposal and say, forgers apply here. Semi-qualifications and jail time, not necessarily a disqualification. They were limited to a small number of people in the White House around the president that could have forged this document. And I've also come to the conclusion they did not have full and free access to the Department of Health records in Hawaii. They couldn't go in and pick some good quality birth certificates to use as examples to forge. They were left with the copies they had around, like the Nordyke twins. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons the Obama birth certificate looks so bad is because the numbers that they picked off of that old photostat from the Nordyke twins to cut and paste into the Obama birth certificate could only be fixed so much. Mm-hmm. And that's what Mara's pointing out.
I'm going back to Mara. Mara, I have a friend who's become a friend who was the first guy to really show this. And we had another fellow from Boulder that got involved with us and showed us how it was done. And he has a term, an interesting term, and he said, it's so amateurish, he said, and he used the term, he said, did they take it to Jimmy down the hall? Because they had such a willing media that, if he'd have thrown a can of tuna fish out there with his birth certificate on it, they would have bought it. And so, I mean, if it is this bad, and obviously it is, now what?
Well, and Peter, Mara can go through a whole demonstration of this. I mean, at the press conference yesterday, we took about a half an hour and really went through it because the characteristics in this document are so blatantly fraudulent. The layers, Mara demonstrated how you could take elements out of this text and you could move them around. You could take the registrar's signature off the document and you could put your picture or my picture in the document instead. And in a scan, explain, Mara, why that's not possible in a normal scan of a document.
Okay. In a normal scan, when you're scanning a document, even any kind of document, everything should just have, when you're looking at on a layers palette, you should just have one layer. It's just one flattened image. It would be analogous to if I took a picture of a bunch of grapes, okay? I wouldn't be able to pick off each individual grape and move it around. It's just a picture of grapes. It's just one flat image. And the only way that you can have more than one layers, which layers allow you to move objects around, as you can in this document, the only way that happens is when a document has been manufactured, built, or digitally edited.
I'm going to break for traffic and come back. Would you stake your reputation?
Absolutely.
That this is a fraud?
Absolutely.
Hang on, you guys.
I feel like I already have.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, but again, both of you guys hang on. Dr. Jerry Corsi is with us, and this woman is contributing author and technical editor for more than 100 books on Adobe and Microsoft software. Unquestionably, I said, stake your reputation. She said, I already have. The Obama long-form birth certificate image released by the White House on the 27th of April is a fraud. 16 after the hour, 6:30 KHLW. Let's get you to work. Traffic time. Here's Aaron. All right, 21 after the hour, 6:21. The lines open. 94 the high, 89 on Friday. Coming up, Clarence Darrow, attorney for the damned. John Farrell, our guest. We got the two best on hold right now. The return of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram to the I-25 corridor and returns to one name that means service and integrity to thousands of people here. It's John Medved and Medved. Locally owned, locally operated, locally involved. John's the man, deep roots now in the state. Now, they show it from sponsoring local events like the Douglas County Fair and Rodeo. Of course, tons of meeting space to neighborhood groups when they ask. MedVed continues to show his faith in Colorado. The new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram facility, right now, service and parts, everything's arriving every day, the new inventory. Stop by. If John doesn't have it, he'll get it for you. See the man. For lots of years, I've been telling listeners, when you need a car or truck, go to MedVed, and the reasons why is because I'm a customer, been so for the long time. MedVed, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, open for business, parts and service. New inventory is arriving daily. Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram back at MedVed, minutes from anywhere. I-25 corridor, the 181 ramp in Castle Rock. With everybody wanting to talk, our guest, of course, is Dr. Jerry Corsi in his book on Obama's eligibility. And now we come with Mara Zebest. And Ms. Zebest is a recognized computer expert. And right before the break, she said that she stakes her reputation. This is fraudulent.
Correct.
Jerry, what else would you like to add? And people want to talk to you.
Well, I think one more point from Mara is really critical, and that is that a document, the Obama birth certificate, once it's been proven through the analysis of the Adobe file that the document's been manipulated. In other words, that there's cutting and pasting, there's elements that are put into this that are rotated and sized to be fitting into the document, all of which can be told from the Adobe file. That's what Mara's report is all about. It's impossible for that to be anything but a fraudulent document.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion.
And I'll ask you both, and then we'll take calls. Why? I mean, was it? Well, and again, I have an enormous.
I think because Peter, the original doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the Obama administration had been a court of evidence, court of law, the best evidence of the document would have been the document itself, and the original should have been released from the Hawaii files. I think the next thing you're going to hear from the Obama administration is that the information's on file there. It doesn't make any difference if the document's not legitimate. I think that's their fallback position.
I mean, it continues with the bizarreness of African, of course, is not a race, and that word, because they said that for so long, and this has to be the only African-American or, quote, however combination you want to spin this story. It would have said Negro, it would have said colored. African is not a race, and yet on this document that drops, because it was the old story, African remains as the race. And African, anybody that's studied 101 anthropology knows that doesn't hold up. And by the way, it was never the document itself. Mara, what do you do? I mean, if they'd have handed a document, it's one thing, but why hand a PDF file? What would give you the cover there?
I'm not sure what their logic is on any of this stuff. I honestly can't answer that one. Why a PDF? And even that, I can't even answer why. Because it's my belief that they built the document in Photoshop, but they saved it out of Illustrator. And I'm not sure why that was done either. If they put it in Illustrator for some last-minute change, or they wanted to do something specifically in Illustrator, because there are two different types of growth graphic programs, and there's nothing in the document itself that displays that it was built in Illustrator. Because if it was built in Illustrator, everything would be crisp, clean, and it would look a lot better than it does.
I mean, the inconsistency, and you point out in the pixels and what you call bitmap. And by the way, you can go to our website, khow.com, and you can see all of the stuff that our guests are talking about. You said it's inconsistent at best.
Yeah, everything. There's inconsistencies everywhere. There's all kinds of inconsistencies. The inconsistencies of the quality of text, the what you're talking about, the bitmap, and then the noise text. There's inconsistencies in the data. It's just a barrage of inconsistencies.
I mean, it's amazing. All right, let's run a couple with full lines. Let's go to Jay. Jay, you're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Pete.
Hi.
And good morning, Mara and Jerry. Hey, this is amazing. This has been over 2 months now since this has happened. And where in the hell is the FBI? Where's the feeds? Where is their forensics lab? Where are the people that are looking at this document?
Well, if this had been George W. Bush who'd produced this document, I can assure you the Democrats and the liberals in Congress would have been all over this.
Well, since Abscam, this outfit's turned into a bunch of cowards. I'm telling you. I've worked with them for years. Where in the hell is the Abscam people that were there? I mean...
Well, Abscam was they were
I know, Pete, but
that's
they got their you-know-what in a ringer. Why they have a huge lab? Why aren't these people looking and vetting this document?
Well, unfortunately, I think what you're pointing out is the FBI is increasingly political.
Yeah, well, it has been since
That's
Nixon.
what it's got to be.
Well, it has been since it was created. It's been.
Since Abscam, they don't do that stuff anymore.
The problem is, I think this is going to demand, just like the Watergate did, and people got to remember, it took Watergate more than 2.5 years to fully develop to where Nixon resigned. And you've got the same phenomenon here.
Except the press is different, Jerry.
But except that today with the alternative media, Peter, I think all the press can stay away from our press conference, but millions of people are eventually going to be aware that the document's a forgery.
But they're going to wait till all the damage is done, and then
well,
I mean,
but again,
who's looking out after us? Where's our wonderful law enforcement people?
Well, I don't think this has anything to do with that. I really don't.
Well, even
the FBI should be looking into this
again,
now.
It should have been, but
where is the congressional investigation?
That's better. That's the better one.
Anyway, you guys are doing great.
Thank you, sir. Let's go here. Go to Larry. Larry, you're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, Pete. How are you doing this morning?
Good, thank you.
I've been trying to get through on this thing ever since the second birth certificate hit the Internet. You need to find somebody that knows how to open that PDF file in a text editor and read the header information.
You're talking to one. There's someone here.
Okay.
Speak to her.
Okay, ma'am.
She's there.
Okay. Can you open that PDF document in the text editor and read the header information?
I haven't tried that.
Well, what I did is I downloaded the PDF file. Then I right-clicked on a Windows system. I right-clicked and opened in Word and chose ASCII 2, and the header information pops up there.
And
it tells you who created the document.
Oh, really?
Now, it depends on what version of Word you have. And I used to work on a Linux-based system, and I could read more. But all that software is registered, and it can be traced back to the machine it was generated on.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll try that as soon as I'm not near a computer right now, but as soon as I get home, I will try that.
Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting because it certainly puts a name up there.
What did you discover, Larry?
Well, this is a few weeks ago I did this, and when I read the header information, the title of it was, I think, Daryl's PDF.
Daryl's PDF?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Who's Daryl?
Well, that's the guy that created the document.
Huh.
Have you guys seen any of this? I mean,
I haven't seen that, but I will definitely try that.
Having worked in government, I can tell you that, government documents don't have titles like that.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Larry, what do you think this is?
Well, I think some very, very inexperienced amateur cut and paste some together. I mean, that was instantaneous when I opened it up.
Do you believe, other people have believed that they had to keep this as controlled as they could?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But let me make this clear. All of that software is registered because you have copyright issues that comes up. Now, it's been 20 years since, these Adobe programs, well, probably longer than that. I'm trying to think. I think it was mid-'80s when I was working on the first Mac. And you could get in there, but, it's been so long ago, I don't have that expertise anymore. But when there's a copyright case, they have the means to get in there and identify who created a document and when.
Wow.
And that's all hidden in the hexadecimal code.
But you have worked on this, you've looked at this that was given out by the president, and you've taken it apart as well?
Oh, yeah, I opened it up, and I used some different software, but I opened it up and saw all the different pieces, parts that are kind of put together there.
Given what you're speaking with a level of expertise, is it a fraud?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, everybody that I know, Doc Corsi, and back to Myra as well, everyone we've spoken to, everyone we met who doesn't have a dog in the fight, who just simply has an expertise, which I clearly don't have, to the person they say it's layered and it's a fraud. To the person they say it. I haven't had anybody tell me it's legit that's looked at it.
Well, Pete, my expertise is more on the photographic side, and I guarantee you I can generate you a photograph of anything you want, and I challenge anybody to prove that it's a fraud.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Larry.
But this one is
it's just a matter of time and money.
This one is obviously a fraud. I'm sure if Mara had set out to create this document, it'd be a lot harder to detect that it was fraudulent, right, Mara?
I would, yeah, I definitely wouldn't put out anything that looked less than real.
Yeah, I mean,
Put it that way.
The thing
Well,
is,
there's certainly ways to put those things together that
your
can't
caller
be taken
is
apart.
Right.
Pete?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to be able to get in touch with the caller.
I'll tell you, Larry, I'm going to put you on, put everybody on hold. Larry, give your phone number to the Sheik, okay?
Okay.
All right, everybody, hang on. There's a line open. 6:32, 28 minutes before the hour. The Adobe book editor, and, of course, again, as always, Dr. Jerry Corsi. They say there's no question you can listen to these people speak that the White House released a fraudulent document. 630 KHOW 94 for the high today. Coming up, Clarence Darrow, attorney for the damned. 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station, KHOW Radio 94 the high, 89 coming up on Friday. All right. And this is the day, actually, yesterday was going to be the day my rugs came back, and they said, no, we'll bring them back on Thursday. I said, hey, cool. After 3 o'clock today, the Zero Res guys, as promised, show up and bring back the rugs. Every once in a while, new technology comes along. It just makes great sense. It's a better approach to an old problem. Zero Res cleans with that technology. Other carpet guys pump soap and shampoos in your carpet, then try to vacuum them out. And it doesn't work. And they are just such special guys. And so Zero Res empowered water, so safe you can drink it, so effective that guarantees results. And so start to enjoy the summer sun today because you're going to be outside more because their carpets are going to be clean. Now, we've talked about this. You've had 2 great seasons of winter. You had winter and you had spring that was winter, and people kept tracking stuff in the house, and now it's time to get it done. The summer special, Zero Res empowered water. 3 carpeted areas cleaned and sanitized for $120 under $19.95. 119.95. That's right, $120. 3 areas. Mention my name. Get the summer special. 303-471-5150. 303-471-5150. Their website is ZeroRez Denver.com. Just tremendous guest. Dr. Jerry Corsi is with us, and, of course, an Adobe book editor, and she's terrific. Mara Zebest is with us, and she has talked about and said her reputation on the line, the birth certificate released by the PDF file released by the White House is a fraud. Sheik, I need some names up here on the calls. 303-713-8255. So, as we talked about at the time, and for both of you to comment, after stonewalling, using the Justice Department, hiring attorneys to an enormous tune, letting a very brave man go to a federal penitentiary and have his career stripped from him, and then walking across the street one day, an impromptu press conference, and this thing drops. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Any of us do. I don't think any of us do. Other than he's just trying to silence everybody, and he knows the media will help him do it.
Well, Peter, it's going to work for a period of time, but it won't work forever because what's building in the country is an awareness that the document's a fraud. And I can tell you both in Washington and New York, there's now a general recognition that the document the White House released, the Obama birth certificate, is a manipulated document that was fraudulently put together. We're continuing to circle in your earlier caller. The signatures of the people who did this forgery are becoming increasingly apparent. At some point or other, that's going to be a fact. And the American public, possibly even before the end of July, is going to be facing a crisis of recognition that the Obama administration kept its position by committing a criminal forgery. Now, whether the American people just want to sit back and not care, I don't know. But I think there's already discussion within the Democratic Party that maybe Barack Obama is not the best candidate to run as their presidential candidate in 2012.
All right, back to the phones. We go to Paul. Paul, you're on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
Morning, sir.
Hey, I was just questioning one thing about the timing of the release of that obviously phony document. And what better time could Obama release that than 1 week before he knows there's going to be something happening with Osama bin Laden? I mean, you can't tell me that Obama was surprised when Osama raid happened. Happened the week following because they knew about that way in advance. They didn't know exactly how it was going to go down. But why not bring out that phony document just before something major happens to kind of take the focus back off the phony document?
Well, I think the precipitant to get the document released was my book, Where's the Birth Certificate, being published. I think the Obama administration knew they could not sustain the hit that they were going to take with both, at that time, Fox News and Drudge radio shows like Peter lining up to make the book a major event. So the timing was to release the birth certificate around to prevent the book from, hopefully they wanted to prevent the book from being published at all. That's why I think Esquire came out and did its little stunt saying the book had been pulled, which was not the case. The inside information I have is that the publication of the book forced the Obama administration to use two of its October surprises earlier. Number one was releasing this fraudulent document, which had been prepared in February. And secondly was getting bin Laden, which I believe the Obama administration probably could have done any time it wanted to.
I'll read you, by the way. Remember that fellow moments ago, Paul, who called you guys and they said the header, and we've had a really great listener pull the header back, and it says, here's what the header says. It says PDF-1.3, Derek's, plural, D-E-R-E-K, / apostrophe S PDF, 40 OBJ, then the length and the stream, and it says XM, semicolon, N1. That's what it says. If you pull back this drop.
Could you post that, Peter?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
Sheik, want to? Greg, come in here and take a look at this real quick so you know which one we're talking about. He'll come in and look over my shoulder. It says PDF-1.3 Derek's PDF. To anybody that knows, and we have
I'd
an
like
expert.
you to send me a copy.
Yeah, I will. Mara, what would that mean? What does that mean?
Well,
it could be the user information when he registered his Acrobat software or something. So,
Would there's no date on here that I can see.
well,
that information might yet be available in the file. It might take a little bit more digging.
Yeah.
But I think that's the code to break into who created the file.
Huh. So somebody named Derek? Derek's PDF?
Yeah, Derek is somebody named Derek created the PDF file. It was his file, Derek's PDF file.
Does it then say to you, Mara, that this is the guy who was the builder of this document?
Could be. I don't want to make any judgment calls because there could be multiple people involved. But, yeah, it's very possible it's just one, and his name is Derek, yeah. Absolutely.
Might have been the last person involved in putting the PDF together.
There's no question in your mind, Mara, that this is a fraudulent document.
There's no question in my mind. Absolutely none. There's no way a document would look like that if it was a normal official document.
Now, as you know, the White House, when first confronted with this, said that the layers were produced by scanning the document with an OCR, or an optical character recognition.
Okay, there's so many things that is wrong with that argument. First of all, if it was scanned with OCR, when you open it up in just Acrobat, why can't you type in a keyword in the Find dialog box and it be able to find the text? Because OCR recognizes characters as actual text rather than a picture of text. And if it was scanned with OCR, you would be able to search the document for words, which you cannot. It doesn't recognize it because it's a picture. And you would also be able to go into the Properties dialog box in the PDF file, and you would be able to see what fonts were used in that program, which you cannot.
This is how sharp the crack staff is. They found a guy. They found a guy already. Yeah.
And I'd like to make one more point about the OCR. If it was scanned with OCR, the text would be clearer. It would be more clean and look like actual text that comes from a computer.
They found a guy in the White House whose name is Derek R.P. Douglas. These guys are wonderful. I work with.
Are you kidding me?
No, they found a guy, Derek R.P. Douglas, serves on the White House staff, Domestic Policy Council, as a special assistant to President Barack Obama, where he leads the DPC's work on urban and metropolitan policy issues. This is the only Derek they can find. Prior to working at the White House, he served in Washington as counsel to New York Governor David Patterson and director of Governor Patterson's Washington, D.C. office. They found him. They found a Derek R.P. Douglas.
Well, I expect
he's on a White House staff.
Today.
He's a staffer. Serves on White House domestic. He's on a staffer. Derek Douglas serves on the White House staff, Domestic Policy Council. Now, is that the same Derek? Who knows? But they found a Derek. That's amazing stuff. Hang on, you guys. I'll bring you right back. 303-713-8255. This is really good stuff. Go to the website, KHOW.com. You can see the work the Adobe book editor, is putting out. John Farrell coming up, Clarence Darrow, attorney for the Dam. Stay here, 630 KHOW. Show I truly do at moments like this. On the line with us, of course, is none other than Dr. Jerry Corsi, and also with Dr. Corsi, and this is not her last appearance as well. She is a nationally recognized computer expert who served as contributing author and technical editor for about 100 books on Adobe and Microsoft software, and said this morning, Ms. Zebest said, there's no question this Obama birth certificate is a fraudulent document. So we had some really great callers, and a guy called back and said, here's what you do. You pull to what's the header, and the header says, and this is going down as we speak, and it comes from a guy that says someone's Derek's, D-E-R-E-K, Derek's PDF. That's a very strange spelling of the first name, Derek. It's not the traditional spelling, and yet in a quick search done by our staff, they find Derek, same spelling, R.B. Douglas, a White House staffer. That's bizarre, Jerry.
Well, at least, we're going to have to find out what his role was. He may have been the last hand in creating the PDF file.
But he would make sense to do it, too, would he
Well,
not?
it's certainly, taking a look at his background, he's White House staff, Domestic Policy Council. He has a background from the Center for American Progress. There's Podesta's organization, about far left as you can get. He's worked for the NAACP. He's a lawyer. Certainly, he's positioned to have created the PDF file. It looks like it was his computer software that was used to do the PDF file. As Mara said, there may have been other hands in this as well along the line. He may have been the last hand putting it up onto the Internet. But at any rate, we're going to have to find out what his role was.
It's going to be an interesting weekend.
Have somebody's name like this from within the White House show up on Obama's birth certificate.
Yeah, how does this guy's name show up on Obama's birth certificate? Mara, you got any thoughts about that?
Other than he had a hand in it? No, I mean, it's just the obvious. I usually go with Occam's razor. The most obvious is probably of what happened.
Now, I'm a huge Occam's razor guy, and it's probably what happened. This looks like an interesting weekend straight ahead for you two guys. Let's go to Barb. Barb, thank you for waiting. You're on the show 7 before the hour. Barb,
Hello?
Hi, you're up.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Yeah, I am right with you all, but I have 3 questions for critical thinking about this. Wouldn't it be logical that somebody who, let's say you were scanning a real document, a real birth certificate, wouldn't it be logical that whoever did that could have just created a PDF, and this Derek may not have been involved in constructing it? That's my first question. Like, he just scanned the document, created a PDF, so the American public could see this birth certificate. The second related thing is, what other legitimate way would there be to put a document out? Because what's wrong with putting out a PDF? I think you've said, Peter, well, it's a PDF. Well, what else would they release unless they're going to have a birth certificate under glass or something for millions of people to file in and look at?
Okay, I have an answer, but let's let Jerry. Jerry, and then...
Yeah, I like the birth certificate under glass. That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
How about if this were a court of law and the judge were to say, I'd like the best evidence of the document, the Department of Health in Hawaii would have been required to turn over whatever they have in the file, if they have anything. I'm not even convinced they have anything.
Barbara, this is Peter.
An independent forensic examination.
Let's go to Mara. Mara, you're...
There's nothing wrong with a PDF file. It's just a PDF file shouldn't be able to be opened and have layers to it.
Yeah, that's...
Well, wait, I had a thing about the other layers. When you first raised this question, Peter, 2 months ago, I went online, and literally in less than 5 minutes, I just typed in something like, does a PDF have layers, or can you create layers or something? And there was at the time I didn't forward it to you because I thought, oh, well, okay, that resolved it for me. There was just some guy who said, well, no, you can easily accidentally create layers by some setting that you create, and some setting, and I'm definitely not an Adobe expert by any means, but he showed how, I just scanned like this Time magazine cover, and there were automatically layers. So,
No, that's not true. That's not
well,
true.
I'll have to try to find that link.
All right, hang
again,
on, Barb.
Peter,
Let her explain. Mara, if you would, you say it's not true.
No, it's not true. You don't scan any document and automatically create layers. You have one layer. There's one flat layer all the time, regardless of how it's scanned in. And in fact, when I run that document through Adobe Acrobat's OCR, to just use the OCR example where they say you have layers, because if there are going to be layers in OCR, I've seen videos, but the thing they don't explain is that there's an insane amount of layers because there's all these layers for each character. but the characters are also clear, crisp, and they're consistent still. There has to be the consistency factor, too. And the other thing is, when I ran that document through the OCR that comes with PDF, the Acrobat program, it actually eliminated all the layers. It became one flat and layered again. So it just doesn't happen.
And Barb, this is Peter Boyles. I saw that Time Magazine story as well, but it was, as you know, that was layered. It was anytime you take something and you're going to create a cover, like the magazine did, and that, I think that issue was like a montage of pictures. I think you could do that because it's been put together by an art director, but I believe what the guests are saying, this is a document.
I understand. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go try to find that again.
Right.
I appreciate what they're saying. I just know, look, I completely am on the, Obama to me is just, what can I say?
Right, fine.
It's so unbelievable. But I want to make sure that when we say things like, well, you know, so-and-so was involved in the PDF and it's...
No one's saying, no, please, no one's saying
maybe,
that. No, please, no, don't, before Barbara, before that gets away, because the caller called up and said, I can do this, and when he did, then they've sent it to us, and it says Derek, and the guys did a search, and they found it, Derek. It's a different spelling, and they found exactly the same spelling. So, Barbara, that's just where it is. I'm going to take one more call here. We go to Bill, and I'm sure both of these guys will be back with us Tuesday morning. Hey, Bill, you're on the show. Good morning.
Thank you. I am a tech. One of the things that everybody seems to miss, if I'm going to do screw up the document, as they did, it is a phony document. The last thing...
Is there any doubt in your mind that it's phony?
Huh?
Is there any doubt in your mind that it's phony?
Absolutely none.
It's phony.
Well, what is the problem is the stupidity, because once I have the document done, and it would take me less than 2 minutes to do this, I would save it as a PDF. Now, a PDF is a picture. There ain't no layers. There's nothing.
Hold the music for a second. Go ahead. Please, Bill, continue.
Okay. Save it as a PDF. Print it out. Rescan it as or print it out as a J. In other words, print out the JPEG on a printer. Rescan it as a PDF, and no one can say it's layered because it would not be.
All right. Is it layered, Bill?
Absolutely.
Let me ask, as we end the hour, is it a fraudulent document?
Yes.
All right. I thank you. You guys, I'm sure with those two leads from this morning, we'll have you both back on Tuesday morning. Happy 4th of July. Mara, thank you. And as always, Jerry, great work, you guys. You're both on hold, okay?
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Happy 4th of July.
I can tell you that if it was me, I would resign.
Fortunately, we have help from the media.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.